What's up, guys? My name is DJ Swivel, and we're back for part 3 of the Q&A edition of Just the Tips. You guys asked some awesome questions, but before we dig into it, make sure you like, subscribe, share it with your friends, do what you gotta do, and let's get into the Q&A. All right, the next question is from Chris C.P., who asks, what is your musical process? Do you work on the beat first or the melody first? That's a great question, Chris. It really just depends on the song. But if I'm speaking in the broadest and most typical terms, usually it starts with some sort of musical element. It could be a bass line, it could be a keyboard part, it could be a loop, it could be a sample. It usually starts with some sort of melodic element. It could be, I might have a guitar player with me who plays a guitar riff. And then that core musical element will usually be the first of many building blocks to create the song. So after you have that, then I might start humming some melodies and figuring out, all right, what does the verse sound like? What does the chorus sound like? And then as you do that, you might say, okay, this is a really great verse thing, and that might work just with the guitar. And then this feels like a good chorus, but we need something in addition to the guitar. So then you add something. And then it's like, all right, well, what do the drums sound like? You add the drums. And sort of songs get pieced together in no particular order, but it's usually as you come up with something new, it informs the next thing that's missing. But usually it starts with some sort of melodic element to build a top line, a vocal melody on top of. Okay, the next question is from Colton, who asks, do you need good equipment to make good music? No, Colton. No. I cannot stress this enough. If you feel like you are unable to achieve something, don't automatically think it's your equipment. It's your ability. It's music takes practice. LeBron James didn't become LeBron James overnight. It's a lifetime of practice, of shooting, of running drills, of eating right and training. It's if you want to be great, you have to constantly work at it. And it has nothing to do, LeBron James can shoot an NBA basketball, and I'm sure he can shoot the high school gym basketball that you have that is not NBA, like the practice of shooting a ball has nothing to do with the ball, right? And that's the same with music. Every once in a while, look, if you have a mic that is broken and is the diaphragm is distorting and is no good, yeah, fix the mic. But the difference between a $100 mic and a $10,000 mic is not going to be the difference between a hit record and a record that is sort of fizzles out or nobody cares about. So I say focus on the things that really, really matter first, which is the skills, just the general songwriting process, engineering, whatever it is that you do. Focus on developing your talent and your skills, and then worry about the gear and spending money after that. One thing I will say where gear is helpful is sometimes when you're in a creative slump, a new plugin might create a new sound that sparks a new idea. So sometimes gear really does give you a fresh boost of creative energy, but don't let that be the thing that you always fall back on. Like, my mic isn't good enough, therefore I cannot do this. So don't worry about the gear, focus on the skills. Okay, the next question is from George from London. And George asks, how much can a mix engineer contribute to finishing a track? This is a great question, and in my view, a lot. Mixing is, to me, the final creative process in finishing a record. And I view my role as a mixer to take whatever I'm given and get it across the finish line. And it depends on who you're working with and what you're working with to determine what exactly needs to be done. In some cases, I'll get files and it's perfect. I don't need to do anything other than maybe adjusting some levels, some EQs, a little compression, just like, polishing up what I'm given. But in other cases, I'm given a song and, it might be missing certain elements that build tension or create sort of anticipation to a chorus or a moment. And so I find that maybe 50% of the time, I'm changing kick drums because this kick drum doesn't work. Or, going into a chorus, it needs a drum fill to really lift. So I might create a drum fill, or maybe this chorus needs like a vocal lift. And so it might need a background harmony. So it's like writing vocal harmonies and creating, tension that way and sort of singing it myself. A lot of the Chainsmoker songs, I'm singing background vocals on, half that Memories album, and on Closer and a number of other songs, because, in the vocal that I got, it was just missing some elements. We needed to, beef up some parts here and add some tension here. And so you end up doing these little elements, and all of those little things contribute to the final record. So I think absolutely mixing is a key part of the production process, and you can actually change a lot in the mixing process. So thank you for the question. It's a good one. All right, Alasu Music asks, how do you collect your royalties as a producer if your clients are on DistroKid? This is a good question, and actually specifically with DistroKid, they have a feature that allows you to create splits. And what's great about that is you don't have to be accounted to from the artist. You can create the splits and DistroKid will pay you directly. And Stem also does this. I think more and more of these aggregators are starting to incorporate those features, but I know DistroKid does it. Now, DistroKid is going to collect your royalties from sales, so the mechanical royalties and things like that. What they're not going to collect on, at least to my knowledge, they don't, but I might be wrong here, so correct me in the comments if I am. I don't believe they collect your publishing. So you will have to go find an administrator or a publisher who's going to go and be your agent to go and collect your publishing money. And of course, you want to make sure you're registered with your PRO. If you're in the US, it's ASCAP, BMI, CSAC. If you're in Canada, it's SOCAN. And every country around the world has their own PRO. So you want to make sure you're registered, your song is registered, your songwriting splits are registered, and then DistroKid will cover the mechanical side. All right, this question is from Joe Wellington from New Zealand. And Joe asks, how do producer splits work for you? Well, they can actually work a few different ways. If you're working with a major artist who's signed to a major label, typically a producer will get between 3 and 6 points on the master. Points meaning percentage points. Of course, if you're working with a big artist and you're a new producer, you're probably going to get squeezed down to 3. If you're, one of the bigger producers in the industry and you have a lot more power and sway, you can ask for 6 potentially. And there may be cases where producers ask for even more than that, but usually it falls between 3 and 6. And that gets accounted to you from the record company. So, and that, let's just use 4 points. Those 4 points comes out of the artist's share. So if an artist is in a 15-point deal, right, which is kind of typical, an artist deals usually range between, on a bad deal, low side, 12 points, and, I'm sure if you're Beyonce, she might have a 50-50 deal for all I know, but a typical artist deal probably lands somewhere between 12 on the low end and 20 points on the high end, meaning 20%. So the artist gets 20 and the label gets 80, right? But all of those costs that the label pays has to be recouped first. So as a producer, I'm getting my points from the artist. So if the artist is in a 15-point deal and I have 4 points, that on that song, the artist drops down to 11 points, right? And then if they give a point to a mixer, which is normally a mixer will get 1 point, now the artist is down to 10 points. So the artists pay for everything. These label deals are not always great to the artist. But on top of that, all of the recording costs have to be recouped. The label has to get that money back before they start paying out a royalty. And so that's typically how it works for producers. But if you're working with an independent artist and you don't take an advance, so if I'm collaborating with an artist and I say, I don't want an advance, or I'm not taking an advance, I might be able to get a 50-50 deal and say, all right, since the artist isn't in a record deal and they have 100% of their song, well, I produced it. So I'm going to take 50%, the artist is going to take 50%, and from the first record sold or the first stream, we're going to share those royalties, and those will get, accrued. I don't know, Spotify pays out probably every month, or you might have an administrator or a DSP that's paying you out, and you get paid out every month. So that's if you're working independently, oftentimes you can get a 50-50 deal. So it really just depends on who you're working with, and those are the ways that I typically work. Courtney from Minnesota asks, how did you write your first song? Did you have mentor help? Did you write it by yourself, etc.? That's a good question. I think the best way to write is just write. The first songs that I ever made were horrible. They were so bad. They would be cringeworthy to listen to right now. But that's kind of everybody's story. Nobody is a great songwriter or a great producer on the first go around. You have to make hundreds of songs to really refine your process and learn the tips and the tricks and all those things. So, for me, I think I just was in my bedroom writing a song, and in fact, it might have been actually the first songs or beats that I ever made were actually in music class in high school. We had a computers and music class. We had little keyboards and, Cubase, and we were making like kind of cheesy beats on these like old Roland keyboards. And that's how I first got started, and they were all really bad, and over time they got a little better. So just get started and you'll figure it out.